What would you do if you saw a mother tear her last meal into 4 pieces so her children wouldn't starve? Would you look away and pretend you didn't see? Or would you finally understand that the system claiming to help families is actually destroying them? This is what happened when one man refused to look away. Daniel Foster was having the worst day of his life, which was saying something for a man worth $6.2 billion. His company's stock had dropped 4 points that morning. His board of directors was questioning his decision to invest in green energy. His ex-wife's lawyer had sent another letter demanding more money, and his daughter hadn't returned his calls in 3 weeks. Money, it turned out, couldn't fix everything. Daniel sat in his Tesla in the parking lot of a Target in suburban Milwaukee, October evening, cold enough to see your breath. He was trying to decide if he even wanted to go inside. He'd driven here himself, no driver, no security detail, no assistant trailing behind with his schedule. He just wanted to feel normal for 1 hour, to pretend he was a regular person buying regular things. That's when he saw her, a white woman sitting on the concrete curb near the store entrance, maybe 35 years old. She wore jeans with holes that weren't the fashionable kind, the kind that came from wear and time and having nothing else. Her jacket had seen too many winters. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. 3 children sat around her on the curb, all of them black, 2 boys and a girl. The oldest looked maybe 8. The youngest couldn't have been more than 4. They were sharing a McDonald's hamburger. Not a meal, not Happy Meals with toys and fries. A hamburger, one single hamburger. Daniel watched through his windshield as the woman carefully unwrapped it. She tore the burger into 4 pieces. Her hands moved with precision, like she'd done this before, like she'd gotten good at making one thing stretch for 4 people. She gave the largest pieces to the kids, kept the smallest piece for herself. The little girl, maybe 5 years old, looked at her piece, then looked at her mother's much smaller portion. Her voice carried across the parking lot in the evening quiet. "Mama, you should have the big one. You're bigger than us." The woman smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "I already ate, baby. You need it more than me. You're growing." The little girl didn't look convinced, but she ate her portion slowly, carefully, savoring every bite like it might be the last meal she'd see for a while. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He'd just come from a lunch meeting downtown. He'd ordered a $40 steak, eaten maybe half of it. The rest went in the trash when the server cleared his plate. This woman was dividing $1 menu hamburger 4 people. About having already eaten. He just moved. He walked toward them across the parking lot. The woman looked up as he approached. Her eyes went immediately wary, protective. She shifted her body slightly, positioning herself between Daniel and her children. He was a stranger, a man, approaching her kids. She had every right to be cautious. "I'm sorry to bother you," Daniel said. He stopped a respectful distance away. "My name is Daniel. I was wondering if I could buy you and your kids some dinner." The woman's jaw tightened. Her back straightened. "We're fine, thank you." "I can see you're fine. I just thought maybe the kids might want—" "I said we're fine." Her voice was sharper now, edged with pride and something that might have been shame. "We don't need charity." The oldest boy, the 8-year-old, looked up at Daniel with eyes that had seen too much for his age. "It's okay, mister. Mama always makes sure we eat." Daniel noticed the boy's sneakers, held together with duct tape. Gray tape wrapped around the soles where they'd separated from the tops. "I'm sure she does," Daniel said quietly. "I didn't mean to offend you. I apologize." He started to walk away, then stopped. He turned back. "Can I ask you something? And you can absolutely tell me it's none of my business." The woman waited, watching him. "Why are you here, sitting in a Target parking lot?" "We're waiting for the bus. It comes at 7. Daniel checked his watch. It was 5:30. An hour and a half. In the cold? We'll be fine. But the little girl was shivering. Her jacket was too thin for October in Wisconsin. I could see goosebumps on her arms. The middle boy, maybe 6 years old, tugged on his mother's sleeve. Mama, I'm still hungry. Something broke in the woman's eyes. Just for a second. Then she put it back together. Daniel made a decision. Look, I know you don't know me. And I completely understand why you're cautious. But it's getting cold and you've got an hour and a half to wait. There's a diner across the street. Would you let me buy you and your kids a warm meal while you wait for your bus? You can sit wherever you want. I'll sit somewhere else. No strings attached. No conversation required. Just warm food for your kids. She studied him, trying to figure out his angle, what he wanted, what this would cost her. Why? She asked finally. Because I have more money than I know what to do with, and you clearly need it more than I do. That's it. That's the only reason. She was quiet for a long moment. The middle boy tugged her sleeve again. Mama, I'm still hungry, he whispered. Something broke in the woman's eyes. Just for a second. Then she put it back together. Daniel made a decision. Look, I know you don't know me, and I completely understand why you're cautious, but it's getting cold, and you've got an hour and a half to wait. There's a diner across the street. Would you let me buy you and your kids a warm meal while you wait for your bus? You can sit wherever you want. I'll sit somewhere else. No strings attached. No conversation required. Just warm food for your kids. She studied him, trying to figure out his angle, what he wanted, what this would cost her. Why? She asked finally. Because I have more than I need, and you clearly need it more than I do. That's it. That's the only reason. She was quiet for a long moment. The middle boy tugged her sleeve again. Mama, I'm still hungry, he whispered. She closed her eyes, took a breath. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Daniel nodded. The diner's called Mike's Place, right across the street. I'll meet you there. He walked back to his car, started the engine, pulled out of the parking spot. In his rearview mirror, he watched the woman gather her children. Watched her pick up the youngest and take the hands of the two older kids. Watched them walk across the parking lot toward the crosswalk. And he noticed something else. People walking past them. Going in and out of Target with shopping bags full of things they didn't need. Not one person stopped. Not one person looked. Not one person saw them. Daniel pulled into the diner parking lot and waited. When the woman and her children walked through the door, every head in the restaurant turned. And Daniel realized this wasn't going to be as simple as buying someone dinner. Because the looks on people's faces told him everything he needed to know. White mother, black children. In a small suburban diner in Milwaukee. This was about to get complicated. If this is your first time watching a story on Topcore, subscribe now. We tell the real stories about race, poverty, and what happens when the system breaks families apart. What happens next will shock you. Mike's Place was one of those family diners that had been there forever. Red vinyl booths, laminated menus, black and white checkered floor. Coffee that smelled like it had been on heat for weeks. And every table had a centerpiece of a bowl of plastic fruit. Sitting on the burner since morning. The kind of place where regulars had their usual table and the waitresses knew everyone's order by heart. Daniel held the door open. The woman walked in first. Her 3 kids filed in behind her. Single file. Quiet.
well-behaved in a way that suggested they'd been taught to be invisible in public spaces. Every head in the diner turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. The waitress behind the counter froze with a coffee pot in her hand. Daniel noticed it immediately. The way people stared, the way the hostess's professional smile went tight at the corners when she saw the woman and her children, the way the room went from normal dinner noise to library quiet in about 3 seconds. White mother, black kids. He could practically hear the judgments forming, the assumptions clicking into place like puzzle pieces. The hostess was maybe 22, blonde ponytail. Name tag that said Brittany. She grabbed 4 menus without asking how many they needed. Table for 5, Daniel said. Actually, the woman said quietly, just 4. You said you'd sit somewhere else. Her voice was polite, but firm. She was holding him to his promise, keeping distance between them, protecting her kids from a stranger even if he was buying them food. Right, Daniel said. Table for 4 then, and 1 for me. Separate checks. Brittany led the woman and her children to a booth in the back, far from the windows, tucked in the corner like they were being hidden. Daniel sat at the counter, where he could see them but give them space. He ordered coffee. The waitress, older woman, maybe 60, name tag said Donna, poured it without a word. Her face was carefully neutral. Daniel watched the family. The kids were heartbreakingly well-behaved. They sat with their hands folded on the table, waiting for their mother's permission before touching the menus. The little girl asked if she could have orange juice. Her mother opened the menu, found the beverage section, checked the price. Daniel saw her hesitate. Orange juice was $2.50. The woman closed the menu. Water's fine, baby. Orange juice has too much sugar anyway. Daniel caught Donna's attention, kept his voice low. They were okay. Up close, he could see how tired she was, how worn down. There were circles under her eyes. Her hands were rough, working hands. Her clothes were clean but old. "Thank you," she said. "Really, you didn't have to do that." "I know, I wanted to." He paused. "Can I ask you something? And you can absolutely tell me to mind my own business." She waited. "What's your name?" "Claire. Claire Morrison." "And your kids?" "Jamal is 8, Marcus is 6, Destiny is 5. "Those are beautiful names." Daniel hesitated. "Claire, are you okay? I don't mean to pry, but you look like you're going through something." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back hard. "We're fine. Thank you again for dinner." She turned to go. "Wait," Daniel said. "Please. I'm not trying to be intrusive, but I've built a career on reading people, on seeing when something's wrong, and everything about this situation is wrong. You're clearly struggling. Your kids are clearly loved and well cared for, despite whatever you're going through. I just want to understand." "Why?" "Because maybe I can help." "You already helped. You fed my kids." "That's not help. That's a temporary fix. I'm talking about actually helping." Claire laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You can't help with my problems." "Try me." She looked at him for a long moment, trying to decide if he was genuine or just another person looking to feel good about himself by helping the poor white lady with the black kids. "We're homeless," she said finally. Her voice was flat, matter of fact, like she had to say it so many times it didn't hurt anymore. "We've been staying at a shelter, but they can only keep families for 30 days. Our time's up next week. I've been trying to find a job, but nobody wants to hire me. Every apartment I apply to turns me down. So in 1 week, I'll have 3 kids and nowhere to go. That's what's wrong. And unless you've got a magic solution, there's nothing you can do about it." Daniel processed this. "Why won't anyone hire you?" Claire gestured toward her children, still sitting in the booth. Marcus was drawing on his napkin with a crayon Donna had given him. Take a guess. Because they're black? Because I'm black and they're black. People make assumptions about who I am, what I am. They think I'm a welfare queen collecting checks. They think I'm trash. They think my kids are problems waiting to happen. So no, nobody wants to hire the white lady with the black kids. And nobody wants to rent to us either. That's illegal. Proving it is another thing entirely. She wiped her eyes. Look, I appreciate the meal. I really do. But we need to go catch our bus. Where are you going? Back to the shelter. Let me drive you. No. Claire. I said no. Her voice was firm now. Final. I don't know you. You seem nice, but I don't know you, and I have to protect my kids. So thank you for the dinner, and goodbye. She walked back to the booth, gathered her children, helped Destiny with her coat, took Marcus's hand, let Jamal walk beside her. They left the diner. Daniel sat there at the counter for a long time, staring at his cold coffee. Donna refilled it without asking. That was a nice thing you did. It wasn't enough. Sometimes enough is all we've got. But Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Claire's words. Nobody wants to hire the white lady with the black kids. The system was punishing her for loving children who didn't look like her. He pulled out his phone, called his assistant. She answered on the second ring. Daniel, it's almost 8 p.m. Is everything okay? Cancel all my meetings for next week. What? All of them? You have? All of them. Reschedule everything. I don't care what it takes. Why? What happened? Daniel looked at the booth where Claire and her kids had been sitting. At the napkin Marcus had drawn on. Donna hadn't cleared it yet. The drawing showed 4 stick figures. 3 small ones, 1 big one. All holding hands. Underneath, in a child's careful handwriting, my family. I need to figure something out, Daniel said. He hung up because he just realized something that made him sick. He spent $6 billion building a tech empire. He owns 3 houses. He had cars worth more than most people made in a year. And while he was complaining about stock prices and ex-wives, a mother was tearing a hamburger into 4 pieces so her children wouldn't starve. In the same city he lived in. The same city where he was considered a success story. Something was very, very wrong. And Daniel Foster was about to find out exactly how wrong it was. Daniel Foster hadn't built a $6 billion company by giving up easily. The morning after the diner, making calls. First call went to his head of security. I need you to find out which homeless shelter serves the North Milwaukee area. Family shelter. I need the name and director's contact information. Today. Second call went to his personal lawyer. I need a favor, and it's going to sound strange. By 10 a.m., Daniel had the information he needed. There were 3 family shelters in North Milwaukee. Only one took families with more than 2 children. Hope Haven on North 27th Street. He called the director. Didn't give his full name, just said he was a potential employer conducting a background check on Claire Morrison. The director, a woman named Patricia Hayes, was hesitant at first. Privacy concerns, confidentiality. I'm considering hiring her for a position at my company, Daniel lied. I just need to verify some employment history. Standard procedure. Patricia seemed to buy it. She pulled Claire's file. What she told Daniel over the next 20 minutes made him physically ill. Claire Morrison, 34 years old, former social worker for Milwaukee County. Licensed, good employee reviews across the board, specialization in foster care and family services. She'd adopted Jamal when he was 3 years old. The boy had been in the system for 2 years, labeled difficult, behavioral issues. Most families didn't want older kids, especially older black boys. Too much trauma, too much work. Claire took him anyway.
2 years later, she adopted Marcus. He'd been in foster care since birth. Failure to thrive as an infant. Developmental delays. Special needs. The kind of kid who got shuffled from placement to placement because nobody wanted to deal with the medical appointments and therapy sessions. Claire took him too. Destiny came when Claire was 32. Newborn. Born 3 months premature to a mother with a drug addiction. The baby had been through withdrawal, had ongoing health issues, needed constant monitoring. Nobody wanted her. Claire took her home from the hospital. She's an amazing mother, Patricia said. I've worked in this field for 20 years. I've never seen anyone more devoted to their children. She gave up everything for those kids. What happened? How did she end up homeless? Lost her job 2 years ago. Milwaukee County defunded the social services department. They laid off most of the staff. Claire was one of them. Why can't she find another job? She's qualified, experienced. Patricia was quiet for a moment. You seem like you're genuinely asking, so I'm going to be honest with you. Claire is a white woman with 3 black children, and people judge her for it, harshly. She's applied to probably 50 jobs in the past 2 years. Nobody will hire her. That's illegal. Of course it is, but proving discrimination is almost impossible. They just say she's not the right fit, or they go with another candidate, or they ghost her after the interview. She can't prove it's because of her kids, but we all know that's why. What about housing? Same thing. She applies, gets rejected over and over. Landlords see her application, see she has 3 kids, see that she's white and they're black, and suddenly the apartment is already rented, even though it stays listed for weeks after. Daniel felt rage building in his chest. How is she surviving? Barely. She sold everything she owned, her car, her furniture, everything. She's been doing day labor when she can find it, but she can't leave the kids alone, so work opportunities are limited, and childcare is expensive, more than she can make in a day. It's a trap. She can't work without childcare and can't afford childcare without work. The shelter can only keep her for 30 days? That's the policy. We have to serve as many families as possible. We can't let people stay indefinitely. Her 30 days are up next Friday. Then what happens? I don't know. She'll have to figure something out. Daniel hung up feeling sick. He made another call, this one to the director of Hope Haven directly. He gave his real name this time. This is Daniel Foster. I'd like to make a donation to Hope Haven. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, did you say Daniel Foster, the tech entrepreneur? Yes. How much would it cost to add another wing to your shelter? To expand capacity so you could keep families longer than 30 days? More silence. Mr. Foster, that would require significant funding, probably $2 million for construction, plus operational costs for staffing. What if I gave you $2.5 million? 2 for construction, $500,000 for 5 years of operational costs. Mr. Foster, because I can, and because you need it. I'll have my lawyers draw up the paperwork. One condition. The Morrison family stays as long as they need to. No time limits. And I want regular updates on their well-being. Nothing invasive, just confirmation that they're okay. This is incredible. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Daniel's next call was to his head of human resources. Jennifer, I need you to do something for me. I need a list of every company in Milwaukee that's had a job application from Claire Morrison in the past 2 years. Every single one. That's going to be a lot of companies, Daniel, and I'm not sure how I don't care what it takes. Investigators if you have to. I want to know every place she applied and what their hiring practices are. Because I have a feeling most of them are violating federal employment law. You think there's systematic discrimination? I know there is.
and I want documentation, because we're going to stop doing business with every single company that turned her down. His fourth call went to Marcus Delgado, a lawyer friend who specialized in housing discrimination. Marcus, I need you to file Fair Housing Act complaints. Lots of them. How many is lots? However many rental applications Claire Morrison submitted in the past 18 months, I want every landlord who rejected her investigated. Daniel, that could be 50 different cases, maybe more. Then it's 50 different cases. I'll fund every single one, and I want them filed this week. Within 7 days, Daniel had built a new wing at Hope Haven Homeless Shelter, started legal proceedings against 17 different landlords, pulled business contracts from 4 companies that had refused to hire Claire, set up a meeting with the mayor about hiring discrimination in Milwaukee. The local news picked up the story by day 5. Billionaire tech CEO wages war on discrimination after witnessing families struggle. The story went viral. By day 7, Daniel's office was flooded with messages, emails, letters, phone calls from other families, other parents, white mothers with black children, white fathers with black children, mixed race families, adoptive families, foster families, hundreds of them, all telling the same story. Nobody would hire them. Nobody would rent to them. Schools treated their kids like problems. Daycares wouldn't take them. Neighbors called the police on them. Stores followed them around like they were criminals. The system was punishing them for loving children who didn't look like them. Daniel read every single message, and he realized this wasn't about one family. This was about a system designed to destroy families that didn't fit a narrow definition of acceptable. On day 8, Daniel drove to Hope Haven. He asked to see Claire. Patricia came down to meet him first. She doesn't know you're behind any of this. The shelter expansion, the legal cases. Should I tell her? No, let me. Claire came down to the lobby 10 minutes later. She was wearing different clothes than the night at the diner. Still old, still worn, but clean. She stopped when she saw Daniel. Her face went from confused to suspicious in about 2 seconds. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. About what? About what I've learned. Can we sit? Claire looked around the lobby. At the security desk, at Patricia standing nearby. She was evaluating whether this was safe. Okay, she said finally. But not long. The kids need lunch. They sat in a corner of the common room. Kids were playing in another area supervised by shelter staff. I could see Jamal watching them from across the room, protective of his mother even from a distance. I've been looking into your situation. Claire's face went hard. Why? Because what I saw in that parking lot made me angry. And when I get angry, I do something about it. I don't need you to save me. I know. You've been saving yourself and your kids for 2 years. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to tell you what I found. He pulled out a folder, handed it to her. Claire opened it, started reading. Her face went pale. 37 job applications in the past 24 months. You were qualified for 34 of them. You got 12 interviews. You didn't receive a single job offer. Not one. Claire's jaw tightened, but she didn't look up. 43 rental applications, all rejected. 17 of those properties stayed vacant for weeks after they told you they were already rented. Now she looked up. Her eyes were wet. Did you know that's illegal? Daniel asked gently. Did you know you have legal grounds to sue every single one of those landlords? With what money? What lawyer? Mine. I've already filed 17 complaints with HUD on your behalf. Claire stared at him. Why would you do that? Because it's right. Because you and your kids deserve better.
because the system is broken and somebody needs to fix it. You can't fix the system. Daniel met her eyes. Watch me. Claire's hands shook as she held the folder. Daniel pulled out another one. This one was thicker. He said, "There's more." I don't understand. What else could there possibly be?
Yes, it was a lie. Claire looked up at him. What? There were no budget cuts. There was budget reallocation. They moved money from foster care services to juvenile detention programs. Different priorities, different allocation. I don't understand what you're saying. Daniel opened the second folder, showed her documents, budget reports, internal memos, things his investigators had pulled from public records requests. They laid off 12 social workers that year, all of them women, 9 of them mothers, 7 of them mothers to children of color, either adopted, fostered, or biological. Claire's breathing got faster. You were targeted, Claire, not because you were bad at your job. Your performance reviews were excellent. You were targeted because of who you are, a white woman raising black children, proving that families don't have to look one specific way, proving that love doesn't see color, proving that the system could work if people actually cared. No, Claire whispered. No, that's not. They wouldn't. The county commissioners who approved the budget reallocation are on record with statements about traditional family values and protecting the nuclear family. They defunded programs that supported diverse families and put that money into programs that criminalized black youth. It's all documented. Claire stood up suddenly, walked to the window, put her hand against the glass like she needed something solid to hold on to. They fired me because of my kids? Her voice was barely audible. They fired you because you were proof that their prejudices were wrong, and they couldn't have that. Claire made a sound. Not quite a sob, not quite a scream. Somewhere in between. 2 years. 2 years of thinking she wasn't good enough, wasn't qualified enough, wasn't trying hard enough. 2 years of her kids going hungry and sleeping in shelters and wearing shoes held together with tape. And it wasn't her fault. It had never been her fault. The system had destroyed her deliberately. She started crying, really crying, full body sobs, the kind that come from years of holding everything together finally breaking apart. Daniel sat quietly, let her cry, didn't try to fix it or stop it or make it better. After a long time, Claire wiped her face, came back to the table. What do I do? She whispered. How do I fight this? Family friendly. One of them is yours, rent-free until you're financially stable. Then we'll work out something fair based on your salary. The kids would have their own rooms. 3 bedrooms, 2.
Chicago opened a Bridge Foundation office in March, Detroit in April, Minneapolis in May. Daniel stayed in the background through all of it. He funded the foundation, attended board meetings, used his connections to open doors and get Claire in front of people who could make change happen. But he let her be the voice, let her tell the story, let her be the leader. Because this was her fight, her truth, her victory. But not everyone was happy about the changes. The first letter came in late May, addressed to the Bridge Foundation. No return address. Claire opened it herself, read it. Her hands started shaking. You're destroying traditional families by promoting race mixing. Real families don't look like yours. You're confusing children and pushing an agenda. This won't end well for you or your so-called children. She threw it away. Didn't tell anyone. The second letter came a week later. We know where your office is. We know where you take your kids to school. Jamal goes to Hamilton Elementary. Marcus goes to the same place. Destiny is in kindergarten there. We're watching. This one she couldn't ignore. She showed it to Daniel. His face went white. We're calling the police right now. The police came, took the letters,
took a report. The officer who interviewed Claire was young, maybe 25. He seemed sympathetic at first. "Have you received any other threats?" "Just these 2 letters." "And you run this foundation that's been in the news?" "Yes." "The one about mixed-race families and discrimination?" "Yes." The officer's expression changed slightly, got more neutral. Sometimes, when people put themselves in the public eye, they attract attention. Not all of it positive. "Are you saying this is my fault?" "I'm saying you might be overreacting. These are just letters. No specific threats of violence. They mention my children by name. They mention their school. But they didn't threaten to harm them specifically. Look, I'll file the report, but unless something more concrete happens, there's not much we can do." Claire felt cold. "So I should wait until someone actually hurts my kids?" "I didn't say that. I'm just being realistic about what the department can do with 2 letters." After the officer left, Daniel made phone calls. By the next morning, the Bridge Foundation had security. Guards at the office, escorts for Claire and the kids to and from school, surveillance cameras installed. But the threats didn't stop. They escalated. A group calling themselves Families First, organized in June, claimed the Bridge Foundation was promoting an anti-white agenda by helping mixed-race families, said traditional family values were under attack. On a Tuesday morning in late June, 40 people showed up outside the Bridge Foundation office with signs. "All lives matter," "Stop reverse racism," "Traditional families only," "Keep Milwaukee pure." The local news covered it, but the coverage had shifted. Now it was both sides reporting. The protesters got equal time to Claire, their concerns treated as legitimate as hers. Claire watched the news that night with her kids, watched protesters say her family was an abomination, that she was harming her kids by raising them, that mixed-race families were destroying America. Destiny looked at her. "Mama, why don't those people want you to love me?" Claire had no answer. The next day, Claire brought her kids to the office. When the protesters showed up, she walked outside with Jamal, Marcus, and Destiny. The cameras were already there. Destiny walked up to one of the protesters, a woman holding a sign that said, "Real families don't need foundations." "Why don't you want my mama to love me?" Destiny asked. The woman looked uncomfortable. "That's not what this is about." "Yes, it is. You have a sign that says real families. We're a real family. Why aren't we real to you?" The protester didn't answer, just backed away. The video went viral. 5 million views in 24 hours. Destiny's question became a hashtag. News outlets played it on repeat. Public opinion started to shift. But the threats didn't stop. The mayor called Claire personally. "You're doing important work, but maybe you could tone down the rhetoric a bit. Let things calm down." "I'm not being rhetorical. I'm telling the truth about what happened to our family." "I understand, but for your safety and your children's safety, maybe a lower profile would be..." "No. If we go quiet now, we tell every family facing this that they're not worth fighting for, that they should hide, that they should be ashamed."
Bathrooms. There's a park 2 blocks away. Good school district. Jamal can go to the school that wanted to put him in alternative programs and prove every single one of them wrong. Claire looked at the folders on the table, at the evidence of 2 years of systematic discrimination, at the job offer that seemed too good to be true. "What's the catch?" she asked. "There has to be a catch. One request, not a requirement, a request." "What?" "Tell your story. Not to me. To other people who need to hear it. Testify at city council meetings. Talk to reporters. Write about what happened to you and why it matters. Be loud about the discrimination you faced. Because there are hundreds of families just like yours going through exactly what you went through. And they need to know they're not alone. That someone's fighting for them. That the system was wrong.
not them.
Won't do that. Two Bridge Foundation board members wanted to suspend operations until things calmed down. Claire stood in front of the board in July and gave a speech that would later be quoted in newspapers across the country. Things won't calm down. They'll escalate because we're threatening a system that profits from discrimination, a system that's comfortable with certain families suffering. If we stop now, we tell that system it won. We tell every family like mine that they don't matter, that their safety is less important than making prejudiced people comfortable. I won't do that. I can't do that. The board voted. Motion to suspend operations failed, 7-2. The work continued. In August, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel editorial board published an investigation. They'd found internal emails from county social services, proof of what Daniel had discovered. Deliberate targeting of social workers with diverse families. The evidence was damning. Public opinion shifted again. Majority support for the Bridge Foundation. Protests outside the office stopped. But the threats continued. Anonymous letters, phone calls, emails describing what they wanted to do to Claire and her children. September came. The one-year anniversary of that night in the Target parking lot was approaching. The city was planning an event. Milwaukee Celebrates Families. A festival in the park. Music, food, recognition of the changes that had happened. Claire was supposed to speak. On the Thursday before the event, she was getting her kids ready for bed when her phone rang. Building security. Miss Morrison, we need you to evacuate immediately. There's been a bomb threat called into the building. Claire grabbed her kids and ran. No time to pack, no time to think. Just Jamal's hand in her left hand, Marcus's hand in her right hand, Destiny in her arms. Down the stairs because the elevators were shut off. 4 flights. Her legs burning. Destiny crying. Marcus asking what's happening. Jamal silent and scared. Outside, police everywhere. Fire trucks, ambulance. Neighbors standing on the sidewalk in pajamas and coats thrown over. A police officer directed them across the street, behind the barricade. They stood there for 2 hours while bomb squad went through the building. Destiny fell asleep in Claire's arms. Marcus leaned against her. Jamal stood separate, watching everything with old eyes. Daniel showed up 40 minutes into the wait. Someone from building security must have called him. He didn't say anything, just stood next to them, solid presence in the chaos. At 11 p.m., the all clear was given. False alarm. No bomb found. But the threat had been real enough. Someone had called it in, described the building, said there was a device in the basement set to go off at midnight, said it was payback for race traitors. The police took statements, same young officer from before. We'll investigate, he said, but his tone suggested he didn't expect to find anything. Daniel's security took them to a hotel that night. Nice place. Clean sheets, safe. Claire couldn't sleep. She sat by the window watching the street below, making sure nobody was coming, making sure her kids were safe. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Email from the mayor's office. In light of recent events and concerns about public safety, we're postponing the Milwaukee Celebrates Families Festival until further notice. Claire read it 3 times. They were canceling the festival because of the bomb threat, letting the terrorists win. She called Daniel. Didn't care that it was 3 a.m. They canceled the festival. I know. I just saw. We can't let them do this. Claire, someone threatened to blow up your building. Your children were in danger. My children have been in danger since the day I adopted them, because this country doesn't want families like ours to exist. If we stop now, we prove them right. We prove that violence works. What do you want to do?
I want to hold the festival anyway, without the city's help if we have to. I want to show everyone that we're not going away, that we're not ashamed, that love is stronger than hate. Daniel was quiet for a moment.
Okay, I'll fund it. Private security instead of city police. Private venue if the park isn't available. We'll do it right, we'll do it safe, but we'll do it. The next morning, Daniel held a press conference. The festival will go ahead as planned. This Saturday, same time, same place. Enhanced security will be provided. We will not be intimidated. Families deserve to be celebrated, not terrorized. The media coverage exploded. National news picked it up. Billionaire defies bomb threat to support mixed-race families. Other organizations pledged support. The NAACP sent representatives. Civil rights groups offered security assistance. Churches volunteered. But the counter-movement mobilized too. Families First announced that they'd be protesting the festival. Expected hundreds of people. They had a permit. They had a route. They'd be there. Claire's board held an emergency meeting Friday night. "This is too dangerous," one member said. "Someone could get hurt. What if there's violence?" "There's already violence," Claire said. "The violence of a system that destroys families for not looking right. The violence of discrimination that leaves children hungry. The violence of a society that tells kids like mine they don't deserve love. We're already living with violence. At least this way, we're fighting back." Another member spoke. "What about your children? What if something happens to them?" Claire looked at Jamal, Marcus, and Destiny. They were in the back of the room, coloring, playing, being kids. "My children have already survived more than most kids ever face. They survived foster care, survived homelessness, survived a system that wanted them to fail. They're survivors, and they deserve to be celebrated for that." The vote came. Continue with festival, 8 votes. Cancel, 1. Saturday morning dawned clear and cold, October weather. Same as the year before, when Daniel had first seen Claire in that parking lot. The park filled early. Families came. Mixed-race families, adoptive families, foster families, single parents, grandparents raising grandkids, every kind of family that didn't fit the narrow definition of normal. Thousands of them. The Families First protesters were there too, 100 strong, signs and chants. Police keeping them separated from the festival area. Security was everywhere. Daniel had hired professionals. Metal detectors at entrances, bag checks, undercover security mixed in the crowd. The ceremony started at noon. The mayor spoke. Apologized to Claire and the families who'd been failed by the city. Local representatives spoke about new laws protecting families from discrimination. Then, Claire took the microphone. She looked out at thousands of faces. Families like hers. Families who'd been told they were wrong. Families who'd been punished for loving children who don't look like you, or loving parents who don't look like you, or being a family that doesn't fit someone else's definition. You're real. Your love is real. Your family is real. And we're not going away. The crowd erupted. Claire saw Daniel in the back. He was crying, trying to hide it, but failing. Jamal came on stage. Marcus followed, then Destiny. They stood with their mother. One family, 4 people, white and black, chosen and loved. Proof that family isn't about blood or color or fitting in. It's about love and commitment and refusing to give up. The festival continued. Music played, kids ran around, families inked together and celebrated together and existed together without shame. The protesters eventually left.
Fear. That change was possible when enough people refused to stay silent. 2 years after that night in the Target parking lot, Claire Morrison sat in her apartment with her kids and Daniel Foster. They were eating spaghetti, nothing fancy, just food made with love. And Claire realized something.
They'd won. Not completely, not forever. The fight would continue. But they'd won the battle that mattered most. The battle to be seen, to be recognized, to be celebrated. They were a family, and nobody could take that away. The festival continued despite the tension. Food trucks lined the park. The smell of grilled meat and fried dough and coffee filled the air. A local band played on the main stage. Kids ran through the open spaces with painted faces and balloons. It looked normal, joyful, like any community celebration. But the security presence told a different story. Guards at every entrance, police watching the perimeter, undercover officers mixed in the crowd. Because this wasn't just a festival. This was a statement, a line drawn in the sand. Daniel stood at the back of the crowd, watching everything unfold. He tried to stay out of the spotlight. This was Claire's moment, Claire's victory. He was just a person who'd helped make it possible. But Jamal had other ideas. The 9-year-old came running over during a break in the speeches, grabbed Daniel's hand with both of his. "Mr. Daniel, you have to come up front. Mama's about to introduce you." "No, Jamal, this isn't about me." "Yes, it is. You're part of this too. You're part of our family." Those words hit Daniel hard. Family. This boy he'd met a year ago in a parking lot considered him family now. "Come on," Jamal insisted. He pulled Daniel through the crowd. People moved aside, let them pass. Daniel saw faces as he walked. Families of every combination. White parents with black kids, black parents with white kids, mixed-race couples with mixed-race children, grandparents raising grandkids, single parents with adopted children. All of them here because they'd been told they weren't real families, weren't legitimate, weren't worthy. All of them proving that wrong just by existing. Claire saw Daniel approaching, smiled, waved him up onto the small stage. He shook his head, tried to stay back. But Marcus grabbed his other hand, and Destiny wrapped her arms around his leg. So Daniel went up on stage with them. Claire took the microphone. "This is the man who saw us when we were invisible, who gave us a chance when everyone else saw us as a problem, who turned one act of kindness into a movement that's changing lives." The crowd applauded, thousands of people clapping. Daniel felt overwhelmed. This wasn't his achievement. He just opened doors. Claire had walked through them. Claire handed him the microphone. Daniel looked out at the crowd, at the families, at the children playing, at the protesters still visible beyond the barriers, holding signs about traditional values. "I didn't do anything special," he said. His voice cracked slightly. "I just paid attention. I saw a mother who loved her kids enough to give them her own food when she had nothing else to give. I saw a system that was punishing her for that love. All I did was refuse to look away." He looked at Claire. "The real hero is this woman who fought for 2 years with nothing but love and determination, who never gave up on her kids when the world gave up on her, who's now fighting for hundreds of other families who need someone in their corner." More applause, louder now. Claire took the microphone back. "We're announcing today that the Bridge Foundation is expanding to 12 cities. We've helped over 2,000 families in the past year. We've changed laws in 4 states. We won over 100 discrimination cases, and we're just getting started." The crowd erupted. Destiny tugged on Daniel's sleeve. He bent down so she could whisper in his ear. "Mr. Daniel, did you know you're on my wall?" "What?" "At home. Mama has a wall with pictures of people who helped us. You're on it. And Miss Jenkins from the shelter, and Mr. Peterson who gave Jamal a winter coat, and lots of other people." Daniel felt tears sting his eyes. "Can I see your wall?" You can come over for dinner, Claire said. She'd heard the conversation. If you want. Nothing fancy. Just spaghetti.
But you're always welcome. Daniel nodded. Couldn't speak for a moment. I'd like that. The festival went on into the evening. The band played, kids wore themselves out running, families sat on blankets sharing food and stories. The protesters eventually left. Their permit expired at 5 p.m. They packed up their signs and went home. But the families stayed, celebrating into the darkness, proving by their presence that they weren't going anywhere. As the sun set, Claire found Daniel sitting on a bench, watching Marcus and Jamal play soccer with other kids. "Thank you," she said. "You already thanked me about 100 times. I mean, for all of it, for seeing us, for fighting for us, for changing our lives." "You changed mine too," Daniel said. "You taught me what actually matters. It's not money or stock prices or board meetings. It's this: people, families, making sure everyone has a chance. You could have just bought us dinner that night and felt good about yourself. Would have been easier, but you didn't. Because you deserved more than easy. You deserved real help, real change." Claire sat down next to him. They watched the kids play in comfortable silence. "What happens next?" Daniel asked. "We keep fighting, keep growing, keep helping families, keep changing laws, keep refusing to be quiet." "I meant with you, with your kids. What do you want for them?" Claire smiled. "I want Jamal to grow up knowing he's smart and capable. I want Marcus to know his differences make him special, not broken. I want Destiny to know she was wanted from the moment she was born. I want all of them to know that family isn't about blood or color. It's about choice and commitment and love. They already know that because you showed them. We showed them. You're family now. You know that, right?" Daniel felt something break open in his chest, something that had been closed off since his divorce, since his daughter stopped returning his calls, since he'd built walls around himself made of money and success and isolation. "I'm honored," he said quietly. Destiny ran over, out of breath, excited. "Mama, can we get ice cream?" "It's almost bedtime, baby. Please, just once." Claire looked at Daniel. "You want ice cream?" "Always." They walked to the ice cream truck at the edge of the park, got cones, sat on the grass eating them while the festival wound down around them. Marcus got chocolate all over his face. Jamal carefully ate his vanilla cone without spilling a drop. Destiny wanted to try everyone else's flavors. Normal things. Family things. Daniel realized this was what he'd been missing. Not a family that looked perfect, but a family that felt real. As they walked back to Claire's car later, Destiny held Daniel's hand. "Will you come to dinner tomorrow?" she asked. "If your mama says it's okay." "It's okay," Claire said. "You're always welcome." And Daniel understood something then. He thought he was saving this family, but they'd saved him too. Saved him from a life of wealth without purpose, success without meaning, comfort without connection. They taught him how to see, how to care, how to use his resources for something that actually mattered. Not because it made him feel good, though it did. Not because it erased his guilt. It never would. But because once you see someone, really see them, you can never go back to pretending they're invisible. And Daniel Foster was done being blind. At Top Core, we tell stories that reveal the truth about race, family, and what it really means to make a difference. Subscribe now because this final chapter will change how you see everything. Daniel Foster sat in Claire Morrison's apartment on a Tuesday evening in November, 2 years and 3 weeks after he'd first seen her in that Target parking lot. 2 years since everything changed. The apartment was different now. Bigger, 3 bedrooms like he'd promised, but filled with life in a way his penthouse had never been. Pictures covered the walls. School photos, family portraits, drawings the kids had made, a calendar on the refrigerator covered in appointments and soccer
Practice and parent-teacher conferences. This was a home, not a house, a home. They were eating spaghetti, Claire's special recipe. Nothing fancy. Noodles and sauce and meatballs, garlic bread. Simple food made with love. Jamal was 11 now. He sat at the table telling Daniel about his report card. Straight A's. Every subject. His teacher had nominated him for the gifted program, the same school that had wanted to put him in alternative programs 2 years ago. That's incredible, Daniel said. You worked hard for that. Mama helped me with my math homework every night, even when she was tired. Marcus was 9. He had a soccer trophy he kept showing everyone. His team had won the regional championship. He'd scored the winning goal. I'm going to be a professional soccer player, he announced, and an artist. I'm going to do both. You can do anything you set your mind to, Claire said. Destiny was 8. She had written a book, 20 pages, construction paper stapled together, titled My Family. She read parts of it out loud during dinner. Stories about her mama and her brothers and Mr. Daniel, who came to dinner every week. This is really good, Daniel said. Have you thought about being a writer? I want to be a social worker, like Mama, so I can help other families. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Happy tears this time. After dinner, they played a board game, Destiny won. She celebrated by doing a dance around the living room. Then it was bedtime. Claire took the kids to brush your teeth, read them stories, tucked them in. Daniel cleaned up the kitchen, washed dishes, put away leftovers. Things he'd never done in his own home because he had staff for that. But here, it felt right, felt normal, felt like family. When Claire came back out, they sat on the couch drinking tea. Thank you, she said, for everything, for seeing us, for fighting for us, for changing our lives. You've said that before. I'll keep saying it, because it's true. Daniel set down his tea. You changed my life too. You taught me what actually matters. Not money or success or any of the things I thought were important. This. People. Families. Making sure everyone has a chance to thrive, not just survive. You could have just bought us dinner that night and felt good about yourself. Would have been easier, but you didn't. Because you deserved more than easy. You deserved real change. And you made me see that I had the power to help create that change. Claire smiled. The Bridge Foundation is in 16 cities now. Did I tell you? I know. I'm on the board, remember? We've helped over 3,000 families, changed laws in 7 states. We're training other organizations how to fight discrimination. We're creating a national network. That's all you. I just wrote the checks. You did more than that. You used your influence, your platform, your privilege. You could have stayed in a tower and never looked down, but you didn't. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Can I tell you something? Daniel asked. Always. My daughter called me last week. First time in almost 3 years. Claire sat up. Daniel, that's wonderful. She saw a news story about the Bridge Foundation, about what we've been doing. She said she was proud of me, that I'd finally found something worth doing with my money. What did you say? I told her I'd learned it from a woman who tore a hamburger into 4 pieces to feed her kids. That she taught me what real sacrifice looks like, what real love looks like. Claire wiped her eyes. Are you going to see her? Next month. She's flying in for Thanksgiving. I'm going to bring her here, if that's okay. I want her to meet you and the kids. Of course it's okay. Your family. That word again. Family. Daniel looked around the apartment, at the pictures on the walls, at the kids' backpacks by the door, at the life Claire had built from nothing. Can you remember what you said that night in the diner? When I asked why you were homeless, I said you couldn't help me. I was wrong. No, you were right. I didn't have a magic solution. I had money and connections and privilege, but that wasn't enough. The solution was you, your voice, your story, your willingness to fight. I just gave you a platform. We did it together. We did. Daniel stood to leave. Claire walked him to the door. Before he left, Destiny came running out of her bedroom. Mr. Daniel, wait! She handed him a drawing, fresh crayon on construction paper. It showed a tall building and a small girl. Between them was a bridge made of rainbow colors. But this time, there were more people on the bridge. Lots of people, all different colors, all walking toward each other. What's this? Daniel asked. It's all the families you and Mama helped. They're crossing the bridge now, so they can see each other. Daniel knelt down to her level. This narrow definitions that valued conformity over compassion. But she'd fought back, not with violence or anger, with love, with persistence, with a refusal to be invisible. And in fighting for herself, she'd fought for thousands of others. That was the lesson Daniel had learned. That poverty wasn't personal failure. Claire had worked her entire adult life and still couldn't afford food. The system was designed to keep her poor, not help her succeed. That family was what you made it. Love created family, not biology, not color, not conformity. That one witness could start a revolution. Daniel didn't have to do anything that night in the parking lot. He could have driven away, but he chose to see. And that seeing led to action. And that action sparked a movement. That real help required more than money. Daniel could have written a check and felt good. Instead, he helped change systems. That was the difference between charity and justice. As Daniel pulled into his building's parking garage, he looked out at the city. Milwaukee looked the same as it had 2 years ago. Same buildings, same streets, same lights. But Daniel saw it differently now. He saw the people, the families, the ones struggling to survive in a system designed to keep them down. And he knew his work wasn't done. Because somewhere in this city, right now, another mother was probably dividing inadequate food between hungry children. Another family was being rejected because they didn't fit someone's definition of normal. Another person was being punished for love. And Daniel Foster was going to keep fighting until that changed. Not because it made him feel good, though it did. Not because it erased his guilt or fixed his past mistakes. It never would. But because once you see someone, really see them, you can never go back to pretending they're invisible. And Malcolm Daniel Foster had learned something that was worth more than $6 billion. That the only thing that really matters is how you use your power when you finally understand you have it. To build bridges instead of walls. To see people instead of ignoring them. To fight for those who can't fight for themselves. To choose truth over comfort. Connection over isolation. Courage over cowardice. Even if it costs you everything you thought you wanted.
Needed. Because in the end, the only legacy that matters is the lives you changed and the families you helped save. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to Top Core for more true stories about race, family, and what it really means to make a difference. Because somewhere right now, another family needs someone to see them. Will you look or will you turn away?